psychology. So on the way here tonight, I hopped in a cab, and the cab driver said, you know, where are you going? What are you doing? I said, well, I'm talking to a marketing club. He goes, oh, that's so cool. How would you describe marketing? You know, if you could give me like 4 sentences, what's marketing? And I said, well, marketing, it's the soul of the business. It really is what people walk away with when they encounter your brand, when they encounter your product. It's that lifeblood that lights you up. So how many of you here use a PC? Okay, how many of you use a Mac? Okay, and who said that? Okay, so usually there's a little bit, usually at a university we've got more Mac than PC, but you know, why would you buy a Mac? A PC costs 1/3 the amount of a Mac. Why do you buy a Mac? The name. Why else? Design. Anybody else?
I like the battery life. It's a lot better.
Okay, that's a very, very functional and sort of logical approach to a purchasing decision. But most people talked about either, you know, what it made you feel like, and then what was the first thing that was said? Wasn't you said design? The name, right? And those are things that produce what inside of you?
Cognitive something.
Yeah, just a feeling. They make you feel something. So people will spend 3 times more on a Mac than on a PC because people who are Mac fans are raving fans. I mean, most people who buy Mac products, they have an iPhone, they're into the iPad, they're totally loyal to that. And that is about marketing. And that is the soul of that organization. So here's another example. What's the best hamburger you've ever had?
Cheeseburger in Paradise.
From which?
Cabbage Key, Florida.
Cabbage Key. Okay. Anyone else? Best restaurant, best hamburger they've ever had?
I can't think of what it's called. It's in Wrigleyville.
Okay.
It was a hamburger with like brie cheese and apple slices on it.
Oh, that sounds delightful.
DMK Burger.
Yes.
Kubas or Kumas?
No,
Kuma's
what'd you
Corner?
DMK.
DMK, okay. Okay, those are great. Okay.
I like
Awesome.
Culver's.
So how many, I do like Culver's, but okay, so how many of those are multi-billion-dollar companies? Has anybody ever had a hamburger from McDonald's?
Yeah.
So does McDonald's make the best hamburger? But what do they do the best?
Marketing.
Real estate, which is probably part of a really good business strategy. But they did something before they had all this real estate. What did they do?
Marketed their brand.
They marketed their brand. They figured out how to turn this hamburger into a widget and make it into something that could be mass produced and scaled, and they marketed it. And they convinced everybody that they were serving all of these people with their wonderful hamburgers. And we all know they're not the best hamburgers, but you know exactly what you're gonna get when you walk in. So I like to give that example, the Mac and McDonald's, because these are mega brands, right? These are mega marketers. They own huge percentages of market share. And if you think about what's happened with BlackBerry, remember how everybody had to have a BlackBerry?
Yep.
What's happened to them? Does anybody know? Yeah, I mean, they can't even sell their business. Nobody wants it. They're trying to roll out a global platform, and you know, they literally had to withdraw the whole.
Are they going to get bought out soon?
Say that again?
Are they going to get bought out soon?
I think they withdrew it.
Yeah.
They did?
They took the whole thing off the table. They're not going to sell their business because I think that they realized is they can't sell it for what they wanted to make the money.
Well, their big domain was business to business because everyone in the business field would use like different applications like that software and Google. So I think that was like their biggest problem.
Yeah, right.
That's why they even held on for so long.
Yeah, but this is a great example of companies that over time, it's not just, when you think about marketing, there's a strategic level, there's a tactical level, and then there's a value, a perception about what they are and what they do. Can anyone think of a company that's been able to really sort of morph what they've done and taken it to a new level to accommodate a new kind of audience? So, you know, let's kind of roll the dial back here. Unfortunately, this is another example of a company who didn't do it. But what about Sears Roebuck and Company? That was a household name.
Yeah.
How many of you remember, you're probably all too young, but waiting for that Sears catalog to arrive in the mail?
My grandparents did.
And it was a big deal.
It was.
I went through with a marker, and I circled every doll I wanted for Christmas. And I mean, I waited every year for that. So what happened to them?
Walmart.
Walmart. So did Sears change?
No.
What changed?
Walmart changed again.
Industry.
Competition, the industry, the market,
Yep.
the market. So does anyone have any ideas what Sears maybe could have done to secure their place as the leader in being that ever mighty resource for washers and dryers and toys and clothes and almost anything you wanted? Anyone have any ideas?
Do you think they got comfortable?
They got comfortable. There you go. I mean, that's really, it's a very simple but a very brilliant answer. And that's why when you see companies who are changing and companies who are bringing people from other industries in, if you think about Burberry. Has anyone been to the new Burberry store on Michigan Avenue?
I walked past
Yeah,
it.
Okay, because you walked past it. Has anyone gone in and had a shopping
discouraged.
experience
Yeah.
there?
I get
Yeah.
discouraged.
I mean, so that woman who grew up in Indiana, really kind of a rags to riches story, she's now over at Apple. Why? What is she, and what does she have that companies like Sears Roebuck could have benefited from?
An open mind.
An open mind. Innovation. Innovation. So if you want to be a successful marketer, there are a lot of recipes for marketing. In fact, I would tell you that our firm, we don't specialize in one area. We have a lot of clients in healthcare. We have a lot of clients in the art world. We have a lot of clients in real estate. We have a lot of clients in the nonprofit world. And you know, we've been in business for almost 30 years. We could have gotten very comfortable. We even have clients that we had 30 years ago. We still have them. How do you keep them? You have to innovate, and you have to change with the market. And if there's one piece of information that I can share with you tonight about taking a job in marketing, working in a creative arena, or working in a business, and what your contribution could be to that business, it's to be an innovator. You've got to have your ear to the ground, you've got to read, you've got to follow the trends, you've got to know what is happening so that you can come to work and bring ideas. I know that, you know, as an employer, when I'm interviewing somebody, I want to hear what their thoughts are on issues, on businesses, I want to hear about projects they've done where they've really made a difference with their thoughts. And if you can figure out a way to demonstrate that you are a good thinker, that you're a good problem solver, that you can also follow through with your ideas, it's really all you need to be successful in this world today, especially in marketing. You have to be able to shift. You have to be able to put different hats on, and you have to be able to innovate. And that is why a company like Apple was plodding along and had their market share with schools having Apple computers. And then they brought Steve Jobs back. And what did Steve do? He challenged them all to be innovators. He challenged them all to solve problems. And suddenly, the company had a new face, the company had a whole new energy to it. And you know, they haven't been quite as innovative lately. Sure, we have a mini that came out with the iPad, but what's next? I mean, isn't everyone sort of waiting to see what Apple's going to do next? I mean, the iPod, that was amazing. That was a game changer. So those are the kinds of things that are brought to the table by people who have a marketing brain. And it is something you can develop. What was your question?
Oh no, I was going to ask, do you think they thought about it long term? Because in terms of, they're still like the dominant in terms of like the market, but I think a lot of the revenue they generate and the reason why they hold a lot of people is because of like that app market, and that blends really well with like their physical software. So in terms of like marketing, what would you recommend in terms of like short-term and long-term thinking?
That's a great question, and I think that's something that Michelle and I see all of the time. We'll get a phone call from a business, a local business, and they'll say, boy, I really need marketing help. I really need some PR. Can you get me in the news? I said, oh yeah, sure, we can get you in the news. That's our bread and butter. We know how to pick up the phone and pitch a story and have a reporter interview you and share your story with them, and we'll get you some nice publicity. But what's the goal of having a story in the newspaper? Well, I want more sales. I need more people coming in my store. And I say, okay, well, so there's a sense of urgency in your voice, and having a PR strategy is not going to be the way to get people in the door tomorrow. So getting an article in the paper that talks about all of the great philanthropy you've done in the community for 12 years is not going to translate to bodies in the door. So I think every business needs to have that short-term strategy because you need sales to be viable, but you do need a long-term strategy, and that's where skills like public relations come into play. And it's a difficult one because everybody is sprinting right now. Everybody wants to know, what's my return on investment? And marketing has gone from an expense to something that we have to show up and prove our value every time somebody wants to talk to the marketing department. Well, what was the return on investment with that ad buy we did with the Chicago Tribune? I don't know. Did the phone ring? I don't know. Did it ring? You know, so there's a lot of trying to figure out, where do these people come from? And the trick is that we've done all kinds of market surveys where we ask people, how did you hear about us? And they'll say, well, you know, I saw it on the Today Show. That is so funny. We have never been on the Today Show. But they have no idea because they saw it maybe on Channel 2 News, and they happened to be flipping, and then they saw something in a newspaper that they happened to have open, and then they saw a banner ad, and then they got remarketed, and they were tracked all over the internet. Everywhere they went, they saw an ad for this cupcake. So all of those pieces have to work together. And so I think the fact that you're thinking like that, sort of this long-term strategy versus immediate, you know, what is the push-pull, right? This is actually an opportunity for marketing professionals to come to the table not as an expense, but really in sort of that C-suite level, right? People talk about the CEO and the COO and the CFO, and you know, that marketing person, sometimes we get invited to the table, sometimes we don't. And we hear about it after they say, oh yeah, by the way, we signed an agreement with Mayo Clinic. What? Are you kidding me? You know, if we had known that you were doing this, we could have put this in our short-term advertising program, we could have put this in our long-term funding program. So, thinking like a strategist, thinking about what does a business need to be productive, what does a business need to be profitable, those are all the questions you have to ask yourself before you come up with a great marketing campaign. So what should I do before I market? And you can do research. We've done a lot of research with various companies. And I think sometimes people find, companies find that it essentially reiterates what they thought was happening, or it affirms what they thought was happening in the marketplace. Rarely have I seen whoa, we didn't know that it was a 70-year-old woman that was buying every, item on the shelf over here. Rarely does that happen. So while you can have that kind of research to understand what's happening, you also need to have insight into the things you need to do before you market to them. So it can become a little esoteric, but you have to think long-term, short-term, always. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
About that? Okay.
I mean, sorry I came in late.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And I have a little Prezi that I can kind of flip through just to give you all sort of an overview of our company. I didn't give you any background on myself, so I'm gonna after I sort of like launched into this, I'm Karolyn Raphael. I went to Indiana University and I studied theater. And I also studied telecommunications, and I was the producer of the Indiana University radio news line, and I thought I was a really cool journalist. And I graduated, I moved to Chicago, I got into a theater company, I made $12,000 a year, and after about 2 years of that I said, I think it's ready to use that telecommunications degree. And I got a job at the time that was part of the advertising department. So I got a job at an ad agency. And luckily, I got assigned to some big accounts. I got assigned to Domino's Pizza, Sir Speedy Printing, something called Genghis Formal Wear, which no longer exists. Some of you may or may not remember it. We're probably renting tuxedos from them as little ring bearers in weddings. Sir Speedy Printing and Roto-Rooter. So got some good experience dealing with all kinds of personalities, finding out about negotiating, finding out about communicating. And then I moved into public relations. Wanted something that was a little less about numbers and a little more creative. So I got into public relations. I got a job at Winger. It was Winger and Associates, started in 1984. And do I just click on one of these?
Oh, the laptop.
Laptop, okay. So I started there as an account executive. I was Michelle. And I was Michelle for, I think, 5 years, maybe 6 years, and I got promoted to vice president at the company. And then a few years into that, the owners came to me and said, listen, we're either going to close the business, sell it, or we're going to retire and let you take on the business. So I said, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm going to take on this business. But at the time, there was no social media. We had a dial-up in the office, and we would yell from office to office, are you online? Can I send an email? So by the time I took over this company, the whole world had changed. Social media was relevant. We needed a website. And I decided we were no longer going to be Winger and Associates because we were not a law firm. We're a marketing company. And so we chose this new name. And really, the thing that's been different about our firm, the thing that has stood out, there are a lot of PR firms, there are a lot of digital marketing firms, there are a lot of direct marketing firms. We're an integrated marketing company. And what that means is we create custom marketing recipes for all of our clients. What works for one may work for another, but it won't work for all of them. And in our experience, if we choose one thing, if this person who calls me and says, I want to be in the news, they hire us and they say, okay, where's my news stories? We get them for them, but there's no result on the end because that's not really what they needed. They needed maybe a direct email campaign. Maybe they needed to have some events at their store, get their name out to the community through a little more mixing and mingling. We're not going to do the one thing the client wants us to do without looking at all the pieces that they really need to do. And because the marketplace has become so diverse and so chopped up, you can't just do one thing. You can't buy advertising and that's it. You can't do PR and that's it. You can't just do social media. You have to do a little bit of everything to reach the various demographics that you need to communicate with. So we create these custom recipes. We're actually 29 years. We're almost 30 years in business. I am a certified woman-owned business, which essentially means we have that little credit if a company needs, because there's some laws that big companies have to follow. They have to give a certain amount of their business to certified women and minority-owned companies. So we've got that, and we've won a lot of awards. We have offices in Chicago and in Highland Park, and we also partner with some firms in New York City, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C. So we're not quite location agnostic, but we have moved all of our work into the cloud so that we can be anywhere and service anyone. We actually are working with clients internationally. We have several international clients, and I'm proud to say they found us through the web. So even though our roots have been here locally, we've been able to branch out. So I'll just kind of whip through this, and then I really want to hear from you guys and just answer questions about things you're learning and how I can give you some advice for your careers and things you're interested in. In thinking about what we do and talking about marketing, I didn't really feel like that described well our mission. Our mission is not to market companies. Our mission is really to connect businesses to customers by sharing their story. So this is something that I think all of you, when you're working with companies, find out what the mission of the company is. Make sure that you can be aligned with it and that you believe in it, because it's going to be much easier to work at a job like that if you understand what you're rolling up your sleeves to do every day. Let's see. Next one. So we tried to come up with what is the winger way, right? What are the things that we do that nobody else does? If you went and hired the agency down the street and you knew they were going to get a few things for you done, but you didn't know how they did it or what they believed in. So we've really come up with a way that we approach every question, every issue that comes up in our office, and Michelle's smiling in the back because we do this on Monday mornings. We all get together, and I have written on the whiteboard some of these questions, but we have a whole process that we go through to talk through our issues on various clients and even with each other. But so what are the goals? This is really the #1 question. If you can't answer what is the goal of this activity or what is the goal of the client, don't do it. What are the obstacles? Identify them and eliminate them. How can marketing make an impact? If you're just marketing to market, don't do it. Don't do it. Will this create action? Will this create awareness? Will this improve outcomes? These are the questions we ask ourselves before we take on any activity for a client. And then your job, communicate, share, broadcast, and report. So these are the things that really help distinguish who we are as a company. Winger advantage. So again, why do I want to choose Winger Marketing? We're a small agency, but we get big agency outcomes. We've had clients on the Conan O'Brien show. We've had clients do crazy stunts, putting 12-foot condoms over all of the pylons up and down Halsted. This is not something you would typically see coming out of a small agency, but we convinced them to do it. They did it. This was many years ago. We had a great awareness campaign for Condom Awareness Day. So long-term client retention. I mentioned we have clients that have been with us for 30 years. We are not a revolving door, and we service clients in a lot of different areas. We don't just do real estate. We don't just do art. We do a lot. So this, really just want to get into sort of the overview of our services. And really what I tried to outline here for you are the core, right? We partner with a lot of different agencies. We partner with a lot of different folks. I don't have a graphic artist in-house. I outsource that. I have somebody that we work with, and I know he's going to be great for a certain number of clients, but then there might be other clients where I know they're not gonna like each other. So we have sort of a bucket of contractors that we use for videos, for photography, for graphics, and that's really the way to be economical for clients. But public relations has been our bread and butter. Media buying, this is something that we do quite a bit of for small clients and for large clients. And this is where we really start to have fun with not just calling up ABC and saying, hey, I need a bank of 30-second spots. No, we're going to come up with a way to make those 30-second spots have a real impact on your audience. So if you're telling me that you need people who are passionate about sports and who most of your customers watch the Bears game, let's come up with an awesome campaign and get your name integrated into the programming during the Bears games. Let's not just buy some 30-second spot. Let's make this an experience for your brand and for your potential clients, patients, whatever. Resources and partners, I mentioned how we do market research, video production, creative direction, branding, web design, SEO. These are things we've done for a lot of our clients. And again, we partner with experts in those areas to make sure that we're really doing the very best job we can for our clients. And then finally, content development. I think this has really become the piece of marketing, the puzzle that has been driven both by searchability and by this notion of becoming a thought leader, right? How many of you have heard that? I want to be a thought leader. How many of you are thought leaders? All right, tell me what you're thought leading about.
Stuff.
Your inspiration.
Yeah.
Seriously, what are you thought leading on?
I mean, I feel like I'm thought leading in the marketing club.
Okay.
In order to help us grow and improve our attention in the university. So that's one thing.
I have a blog on marketing.
Okay, that's right.
My latest one was called, I think, Make It Share, which had to do with how to make things in such a way that they would go viral.
Okay, which is what, it used to be people would call you and say, can you get me on Oprah? Now they call and they say, can you get me a viral video? This is what everybody wants. They just, it's like that moment of fame. I'm gonna have to read that.
Just put a cat.
Put a cat. Yes, I have
Then
to
it goes
that.
viral.
If you put a kitten in a video, it actually scores higher. And what are you thought leading on?
Thought leading on like artistic expression. So
Okay.
thought leading on how to manifest ideas into like music and like video editing and just trying to be creative. So I've been talking to some peers about that.
And so are you writing a blog on it? Are you doing anything to
process,
raise
yeah.
your visibility or your
Yeah.
personal brand
Yeah,
around this?
More so just trying to develop some equipment to be able to do that. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I bring that up because all of these terms that you'll hear, thought leader, personal brand, content, these are sort of on the tip of the tongue of anybody who has a marketing position right now, because these are the pieces that they're struggling with because they take a lot of time, because they're expensive to produce, and there's a slew of tools that have come out on the market so that I don't really have to know how to write. I can hire somebody for 1 cent a word who will write this for me. I mean, it's going to happen with video too. So people are always trying to innovate and come up with ways to make this job easier. And I just, I always caution my clients, there really aren't any shortcuts. If you really want to do good work, and you really want to do a good job at marketing, you have to be authentic. And so we're going to test some of these products, and we're going to see if we can find the folks on those platforms that are authentic, because I don't want to dismiss them. I mean, these are writers who are looking for jobs. These are people who could be very talented, but we have really put a lot of pressure on businesses to produce results, and the struggle becomes they don't want to pay for it. I gotta understand my return on investment. So this is going to be something that I think all of you, studying right now and being in a place where this economy is starting to ramp back up, have a real opportunity to kind of keep your eye on and figure out how that's going to impact the work that you're going to be doing in the future. So this is a really big deal in terms of marketing. The next piece, just a little overview of some of our clients that we work with: education, real estate, nonprofits, special events. You know, we try to keep it interesting. And that's really what I will tell you, that the benefit of working on a lot of different kinds of business is that you can take one business and you can introduce them to somebody at this other business, and you can kind of marry them up, and you can come up with programs, and it really kind of opens up the opportunities for the companies that you're serving. We do, through our media partnerships and our media buying, we do a lot of those sponsorships and promotions. So, you know, like I said, we've worked with media companies basically globally, and that's the fun part. So, you know, one day I realized I really liked going to television shoots. I had a lot of fun with my clients, and everybody was really happy when they were on the set. And then when the segment came out, the client was all excited, and I thought, I could do that every day. All I have to do is come up with an idea for my client, get on the phone and pitch it. I could be at a radio station or a TV station every day. So I think you have to really kind of own the authority and the power that you can bring to the table for companies. When you discover that you're really good at something and you can just see how it would impact not just you, but the business and everybody else, that it has that trickle effect, you can really get excited about things and really make a difference through the work that you're doing. So that's really about us. We do have an internship program, and we are accepting applications. So if anybody is interested, please send me an email. Tell me why we should have you as an intern this summer or this spring, and what you want to learn. Because I feel like if I had the opportunity when I was as fortunate as you all are to go to a city school where you really have professionals to talk to, I think, you know, the struggles that you go through in your 20s trying to figure out what to do and where to work, and you have no network, and it would have been amazing. So really, you are all so lucky to be here at this university and have access to, you know, real life professionals to talk to and help guide you. So I'm putting that out there because we would love to have a student from this club at our office. So, what questions do you have for me? What can I answer?
So when dealing with clients, your idea process, where are you usually, do you have like a initial place to go for ideas, or do you have a certain way that you try to develop these things, or is it just impromptu, or you just on the fly?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that everybody has their own way of tapping into that creative arena, that creative sort of that link that you get to the, those ideas that are out there, and they hit you because you're open to it. And we actually have a rule in our office that shower thoughts must be shared. So, and I'm saying it wrong, Michelle. Do you remember what the actual rule is? Okay. So our vice president at the firm, she would come into the Monday meeting and I had a great idea, but it's a shower idea. And so I said, all shower ideas must be shared. So that is something that, I know, you're getting ready in the morning and you space out and this idea comes to you. So that happens. So share those ideas, write them down. I use my iPhone, my audio recorder all the time. My staff laughs at me because I will be driving and I just discovered Siri, and I will talk to it and I'll say, Siri, take a note, and I will give my idea and I'll email it to them. And they'll, would you please drive? Would you stop talking to your phone? Because it's just, you get in that, you're driving along, you're in that sort of default mode, right? Your brain is in, you know how to drive a car, you know how to navigate where you're going, you open up. So I would say that actually is a trick. if you can do something where your body and your muscles and your mind can go into sort of like a default mode for yourself. Maybe it's knitting, maybe it's jogging, maybe it's driving a car, maybe it's, I don't know, taking a shower, whatever it might be. That's when those ideas are going to come to you. And I think the other thing is you have to read. You have to read, and you have to look at what everyone else is doing. You cannot do iMarketing, okay? iMarketing doesn't really work. It has to be sort of the universe, right? Maybe you can create a product that would be iMarketing. Somebody already has that domain too. So. But yeah, I think creativity. Think about where you get those ideas, and then try to cultivate that as part of your regular activities. And you have to take time to do it. Have any of you read the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People? Stephen Covey? Okay.
I'm reading it right now.
So I recommend all of you read that book. Please read that book. And here's what I will say. They have a phrase in the book called sharpening the saw. 7 steps to highly successful.
Seven habits of
highly successful people. Stephen Covey. So there's a story in the book where there's a man and he's trying to cut down a tree. And he's got this saw. And he's going on the tree and he's going and he's going and he's like, oh, I gotta get this tree cut down. And he keeps sawing. And this other guy walks up to him and he goes, you know, you might wanna sharpen that saw. He said, I don't have time. I gotta get this tree down. I gotta keep sawing. And so, you know, the idea is, how much faster could he get that tree down if he stopped and sharpened the saw? So that, to me, he says it better than I do, but that spoke so loudly because we all get into this mode, and as a student you do, and as a professional you do, where you're working and you're working and you're working and you're on that treadmill, and you've got your rhythm going, and all of a sudden you realize, I haven't eaten. Oh man, I'm hungry. But I gotta keep going, right? And you keep going. Don't do that. You have to stop and nourish yourself, or sharpen the saw, or go to that lecture, or go to that class, whatever it might be. So that is a book I would put on your reading list for sure. Give you lots of insight.
So I know that you said that you outsource a lot of stuff in terms of branding and other things like that. How large is the company? How many employees?
We have 6 employees on our payroll, and everyone else is a contractor. So I have 3 contractors that we work with on a regular basis, so there's like a team of 9. And then we'll bring in a video partner, a graphic design partner. And it really just depends on the size of the project. We've also been hired by other agencies. So they may need the woman-owned business status, and so they hire us to do a certain piece of that job. And I will tell you that I am not in the majority of small marketing firms that actually have employees. Most of the firms that I connect with, everyone is a contractor. And I think, you know, there's some dangers in that, certainly, for a company, and I think for the business that you're working with. So it's going to be really interesting, again, to see how things shake out. And I think a lot of that has to do with offering benefits. If you can offer benefits, you got to have employees. If you don't want to offer benefits and have, you know, depending upon the size of the company, you can just, you know, do 1099. I don't have to pay health insurance. So I don't believe in that. I believe if you're going to work from my company and work with our team, I want you to be on staff, and we're going to give you insurance, and we're going to take care of you as a part of our family. But I did say it's something that every year we look at and we say, wow, maybe we should be doing more 1099. It's a really hard piece to look at as a small business for profitability. Any other questions? Another one.
Yeah, no, I got a lot. Actually.
From the thought leader.
I got a lot. Stuff.
Stuff.
So what's the best advice that you've received, or what's the best advice that you can give us as students trying to get to the world?
It probably sounds a little cliche, but I think the best advice I can give you is write a thank you note when you go on an interview. Not an email thank you note. Send a real thank you note. You know, maybe that sounds very simple. You were hoping for something very life-shattering, earth-shattering. Thank you. You know, something. You know, follow your dream. Do what you're passionate about. I think everybody knows that. You know, you wouldn't be here if you really had no idea what you wanted to do. But I think it's the simple things that get overlooked. Go out and talk to people. Don't just have a social network online. Have a real network. Have real connections with people. And my goodness, send a real thank you note. You will get a job because you sent a real thank you note. I can't tell you how many times we'll interview somebody who's mediocre, but if they sent a thank you note, I'm like, maybe we should have them back. Let's bring them back, because that says something. So.
I also want to share the best advice that Karolyn gave me, and it's so simple. It was slow down. And I think everyone in our generation kind of has that problem where we're running from one thing to next. We're taking a million classes. We're involved in a million things. We're always talking to someone on the phone. And rereading that paragraph one last time. Just take that extra 5 minutes to go back and to slow down. It will change your world. And I still get told it all the time. It's been really hard for me to slow down because I feel like I have a million things to do.
And you're in
I
a
want to get them
fast-paced
done.
company. So how do you go into that, like, that tortoise mode when you're running next to the hare?
Right, but you need to do it. You need just to take that extra 5 minutes and slow down and reread. And like we've gotten thank you notes of people, and it's like words they're not misspelled. They're just the wrong word because they're typing too fast. If you rewrite what you're saying, read it out loud, it would made a world of difference. So
we actually have a process for that. we have a proofing process in the office because it really, you know, we're moving so fast, so everybody has to read what they're writing out loud to another person. Not just, you know, hey, can you proof this? No, read it out loud to another person, and then you can have somebody proof it. But that's a great one. Proof,
slow down.
Slow down, write a thank you note, and you made me think of something else. I'll come back to it. All right, more?
Oh, of course I got more. So how important is direct marketing or social media where you are?
I think it depends on the industry. There's a lot of data about email marketing being actually the most successful way to market where people will take action, right? So you used to have to basically buy a bank of ads and you can run the ad 4 times and somebody will decide to go buy your bottle of Tylenol. And now that number keeps growing, right? Maybe it's up to 8. Maybe it's 9, it just depends. I know everyone's inboxes are flooded and people delete the email, but the data still says that email is one of the most effective ways to get people to take action.
More. There's people with other majors here, so
yeah.
Like, HR and education and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Would you recommend them taking an internship or a position in a marketing firm in order to broaden their horizons?
I think it's a great opportunity if you can find an internship that gives you an opportunity to learn about a lot of different businesses and how business works, right? If you understand how business works, then you're going to be able to market. Then you're going to be able to do HR. It's a business education that you're looking for during an internship. Tactics you can learn, you know, but if you don't have that basic strategic understanding of the business world, it doesn't really matter. Everything else can be learned, right?
Tapped out, guys.
Tapped out.
Yeah.
How did you start doing business internationally? I know you said, how did you start?
It actually evolved through an event that we started marketing when they came to Chicago. It was the International Vintage Poster Fair. And, you know, there were clients there from Paris and Luxembourg, and I mean, just all over the world. And eventually their association hired us to take on the association. And now more recently, organically, it's just been through the internet. We were contacted by a company in Denmark. We were also recently hired by a company headquartered in Mumbai. So, and actually it's been a great working experience because they send us their questions and their emails, and they send it while we're sleeping. So we get to the office and we have all this, work from them, and we answer it, and then we go to sleep, and then we come back. So it's actually, there's been a nice sort of back and forth because of the time lag. And I know people talk about, oh, it's so hard. How do you connect with them? But I think it actually is very beneficial. So, and we've had to do a lot of education about the ideas that might be working in India are not necessarily going to work in the United States. No idea why we would want to do a charitable outreach campaign. Why? We're trying to sell flowers. Why would we want to do something with a charity? And the idea of corporate responsibility, it hasn't even entered the realm of discussion in some of these businesses and some of these communities in other parts of the world. So it's very, very interesting. And so we get to make a difference there.
I think you just kind of like add on to that. That's more of like a qualitative thing, especially like with like social media nowadays, and like it's just there's like so much like data just being thrown out there.
Right.
Like how do you, I guess, like put like a quantitative like value on something that's more so like qualitative?
So give me an example of what you would be looking for.
I guess like with thinking of like social media marketing, how does that like influence, or how much like would you guys like charge for that, like to a client?
Okay. So in terms of social media marketing, it depends on what we're doing. So I think the biggest mistake companies have is to say, I need Facebook. And we've often gone to them, why do you need Facebook? We had a client who said to us, hey, we want to be on Pinterest. That's great, but you don't have any photos. So, really, we came back to them and we said, why do you want to be on Pinterest? What's that going to do for the business? And you know what? I understand you want to expand in social media, but you know where you really ought to expand? LinkedIn. You're a B2B. You need to be talking to these clients, and you have no photos. So I think, again, and this becomes really complicated. You can go online and you can look at what does a marketing firm charge for social media management. And there are firms, I don't know what software they are running, but they are posting, and will guarantee you, links and posts on 12 different platforms for, $300 a month, updated daily. How are they doing that? And not only how are they doing that, but what is that doing for them? Is anybody reading what people are posting? Is anybody responding to them? So, and that goes back to that qualitative, right? Do I just need, to put stuff out there? And if that's the case, I would question your strategy. Or do I need to be having meaningful dialogue with people who I want to become my customers? And in that case, social media can be very important. And when a CEO says, well, what's the return on investment? I'll say, well, how about if we look at it a little differently? Maybe we got a couple of leads from your Facebook, but how much money did you save this year in legal fees because you were able to take a disgruntled customer from social media offline, had a private conversation, and resolve an issue before it got escalated? So I think there's a lot of value that can be achieved through social media. But again, it all goes back to that meaningful dialogue about brand and about identity and loyalty. There are people who say marketing is dead. There will no longer be marketing departments when you graduate. They are all going to be engagement departments. We're no longer going to have a CEO of marketing or a head of marketing. You're going to be the head of engagement. Walt Disney tried to do this. They took their marketing department and they renamed it Synergy. I work in the Department of Synergy. I don't think it really caught on, but it was very cool because I kind of got what they were doing. It just sort of, oh yeah, that's great, because they knew that they were taking their product and they were marrying it to all these other groups, and they were making an impact. It wasn't marketing. is synergy. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, you
Okay.
said it perfectly. Like when it's like they always ask like, oh, what's our like return on investment? And I guess that that is very important as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no.
Right. And we have some luxury clients who would say, you know what, we got a great lead from Facebook and they built a $3 million home with us, which is awesome. But how many customers were they able to engage where they built their house, but now they also signed up for the maintenance program and they're going to spend X number of dollars every year after that house was built because they like the attention and the quality that they feel, what they feel when they are engaging with that business. And people want to feel that.
Hi, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a class in here.
Oh,
so-
okay, and we're done. I'm sorry,
And
and we're done.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for having me, and please email